Hello, friends. Welcome to the LeggLife podcast. My name is Adam. This is episode 55, and this is going to be a different episode, you guys. Sherry is not here, but I do have two friends with me. They are no stranger to the LeggLife podcast. Justin and Auburn. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hi.
From Idaho and Florida. I'm sad because the last podcast we recorded together, we were all in one place. And now we're all together via screen, which is not as fun. But today we're talking about something that we all love. Tomorrow, as you guys know, if you're listening as the podcast was released, is Super Bowl Sunday.
Whoop, whoop.
So the first podcast the three of us ever did together was all about football. And I thought, you know what? It only makes sense. This Super Bowl weekend, the three of us come back together to join our forces and talk all about football. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, so here's where I want to start. This is going to be super random. We don't have necessarily a theme other than football. So the Super Bowl's tomorrow. Both of your teams made it much farther than mine, who did not even make the playoffs this year. I want to check in on both of you. How are you doing after a week of losses? Are you guys okay? Is the bitterness gone? Is it still there? Are you rageful?
Let's just say that my 49ers hat has not been on until yesterday. I finally took it off the shelf, slapped it on, and I felt okay. Okay. I was raging for a while. I was mourning, actually.
Mourning's a good word.
Mourning.
Auburn, what about you?
Well, we were in mourning in this house too, but we have a Chiefs flag that we fly outside on game day, and I let it fly for about 3 days until a neighbor came by and told me that they lost. And I said, yeah, I know. This is, sort of in defiance of that, but I took it down, partly because I'm afraid it's going to get sun bleached out there and I'm going to need a new flag soon. But I'm mostly, at this point in the year, I'm mostly happy that we didn't have a bunch of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
In a big game like that, when you're playing against a bunch of young kids that are the Bengals, they're so young and they're so energetic, and we've got a bunch of older guys on our defense. And so to come out of that game with no major injuries, I count that as a win.
I can't believe a neighbor came by and was like, hey, just in case you didn't know, that's like salt in the wound.
Oh yeah, it was totally rude.
Oh, worst neighbor.
I was so hoping for a rematch between the 49ers and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's what I was rooting for. That's the game I wanted, was a Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl.
I wanted it bad. The problem is, there was so many opportunities for the Niners to win. Like the interception, for example, that should have been. And I've been sent that video, I would say 12 times from people, of the guy missing the catch. That would bring it home. And it's just been salt in the wound. It's been bad.
I told Justin I would much rather my team get blown out, especially in like a lose and your season's over kind of game, because when it's close, there's all of those what ifs. There's the interception what if. There's just a million what ifs. It's like, nope, let me lose by 40 points. And I know that we deserved to lose that game, rather than like the sting of we could have won if.
Yeah.
So let's talk Super Bowl. I'm going to say there has not been a Super Bowl in a number of years that I have cared about less than this game. And I want to know where you guys are at. Do you care about it? Are you going to watch? And then do you have any preference on who wins?
I don't care at all, actually. I'm in the same boat. I'm not even going to be in the country. So, and I'm not going to, if the Niners were in there, I would get up, and because it's a 9-hour difference, I would watch it. But I really can care less. Honestly, if I had to choose a winner, I would say the Bengals, just because I don't like the Rams at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They're divisional rivals anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, my whole family, they're not even doing a Super Bowl party. So I feel like no one really cares in my sphere.
Yeah, I agree. Auburn, what about you?
I really don't care at all. You guys know all season long, I've sort of been like cheering on the Bengals. Like, I'm so happy for that franchise, for those fans, for that community. I'm a little bit bitter, a little bit salty that they beat my Chiefs, but I am happy for that franchise. I was a Joe Burrow fan when he was in college, and then when he got drafted and went into the NFL, I was, going to follow him into the NFL. And then he had the injury, and so I think this has been a big comeback year for him. So I'm happy for him. I also feel like he's come off a little bit arrogant, and he's kind of turned me off a lot. There are players that come into their own in the NFL and they kind of grow up and you like him more. Like Baker Mayfield is one of those for me. I hated him in college and I don't hate him quite so much in the pros. And I'm kind of falling off the Joe Burrow train right now. So I'm kind of leaning toward the Rams for this. And I feel like a bad friend because you guys are both, in that division. And I feel bad rooting for the Rams. But how cool is this for Matthew Stafford to be in the Super Bowl after so many years in the NFL?
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, the Matthew Stafford story, I think, is one of my favorites out of the entire Super Bowl. I just think that's such a cool story. I mean, the guy has put up like crazy statistics. I mean, like video game kind of statistics, but he's been on the Lions. And so it's like he's never even had a shot to see what he could do. And so I like that. I also just genuinely don't care. I am in the exact same boat, Auburn, as you with Joe Burrow. I have liked him until like the last 10 days. And it just feels a little bit like there's some ego coming in there. And I don't want to see him be the next Tom Brady as far as like that goes. And so that's what I feel like a big loss may help that. Like losing on the big stage kind of puts you in your place. Also getting hit by Aaron Donald a whole bunch can do that. And so I think I'm probably leaning, even though I love the story of the Bengals, like terrible a couple years ago, I do think I'm probably leaning Rams because of Matthew Stafford. So, but I genuinely don't care. Like I'm more excited about the halftime show than the Super Bowl. Let's talk MVP because this is a question that Auburn came up with, and I care about this so much. So all of the buzz MVP has been around Aaron Rodgers. I have a very strong opinion on this. I want to know, does Aaron Rodgers deserve it? Do you think somebody else deserves it more? Who's your MVP pick?
We've already talked about mine. Honestly, I've got two guys that I would put in for MVP, and they're the quarterbacks on the two teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford has made such a difference on that Rams team. When they made that trade, and it was Goff for Stafford, and I was like, really? What kind of difference is that going to make? A couple of years ago, the Chiefs played the Rams in Mexico, or the game was supposed to be played in Mexico. Do you guys remember that? And it was like the highest scoring game in NFL history or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that game made me think, wow, these Rams are on fire. And then after that, they fell off. And that was 2019. And then like Matthew Stafford goes to the Rams, and like, what difference is that going to make? It made a huge difference. Yeah. And one guy made that much of a difference. Like I was so impressed by his performance this year. So he would be my number one pick for MVP.
It's a good pick. Justin, what about you? What do you think? Anybody that jumps off the page at you?
I mean, I have thought a lot about this, and at first it was someone different, but I really do like the Stafford story. I think I have to agree with Auburn because I like as far as who I think is going to win, I would rather have the Bengals win because I hate the Rams right now. But I think the Rams are going to win, and because I think they're just a better football team. But I love, and the reason why I'm okay with that is because of Stafford, because of, I mean, my whole family is Detroit fans, Lions diehard, right? And so the fact that I remember, years ago watching, and they'd be like, oh, Stafford, classic Stafford. And that's how it was. Everyone thought Stafford was the problem, and he was washed up, and it was all this kind of stuff. And no, he's not. It was not a Stafford problem. We all can see that now. And I was really kind of negative about the whole the trade from the Rams and from Detroit as well. I'm like, this is kind of dumb. What a weird thing. But the reality is he took the Rams and brought them to the Super Bowl. And not to mention, he's never been able to play playoff games. And he played with style. He beat Tom Brady on the road. And I don't know. I love that story and just how classy he is and not arrogant. He gave a bunch of money to Detroit.
Yep.
When he pieced out, there's still Detroit fans who love him. Think about Brady, how he left the Patriots to the Buccaneers, and now people hate him because he didn't leave well. Like Stafford left classy. And there's a lot of things I love about Stafford, honestly. I wish the Niners took him because there was talk about that. And I was on the negative train with that too. I'm like, oh, it's Stafford. But was I wrong? I wish we took him because he is a really classy guy. He's a good game manager. And we've never seen him in a playoff game before. And he's chill. You know, he no matter what situation it is, he gets sacked, he gets right back up and he makes a great play.
Yeah.
So
I have loved seeing all the social media posts from Detroit fans who feel like they're getting a victory as he wins. You know what I mean? That are still like cheering for him and rooting for him. Because if you're like a Lions fan, you've never cared about the Super Bowl ever. Like,
right.
It doesn't matter. But this year it matters to them because of Matthew Stafford. I think that's such a cool story.
Yep.
So my pick is the player that I wanted the Seahawks to draft so badly. He was number one on my draft board for who I wanted to go to the Seahawks, and he went to the Indianapolis Colts. He's their running back, Jonathan Taylor. Now, hear me out. 1,811 rushing yards this year, most in the NFL. The second player had more than 600 yards less than him, had 1,200 yards, like 600 yards more than even the second guy. He had 18 rushing touchdowns, like 20 total touchdowns. Those numbers to me are insane in an NFL that no longer like is a rushing league like it used to be. I mean, you used to see running backs put up 2,000, plus yards. Not really anymore. And so to me, the knock against him though, the Colts lost to the Jaguars and didn't even make the playoffs. And so I feel like if you're going to be like an MVP, the most valuable player of the league, you can't lose to the Jaguars and not make the playoffs. That's my knock against him. But I think that his numbers, he was so far better than any other running back in the league that to me, it's like that was the difference. So Jonathan would get my MVP pick if I could give one. So,
that's a good one. Can we talk about Aaron Rodgers for like 2 seconds?
We can talk about Aaron Rodgers for 2 hours.
1, 2.
Okay, we're done. We're done. I just don't understand why he's even in the running for it.
Okay, I don't either.
He can't even like play high profile games.
No.
Somebody needs to give him a haircut.
The Niners beat them at Lambeau when they're all supposed to be all about the snow, which I think is completely overrated. But they couldn't do anything. That game was crazy anyway. But the reality is like he just can't. Why? During the regular scheduled games, he's the season games, he's good. He puts up numbers, but he can't do the games that really matter.
But even the numbers, I was looking at this before we started. He had the 10th most amount of passing yards of any quarterback. 10th. Derek Carr had more passing yards than Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP.
That's embarrassing.
I don't understand that Aaron Rodgers, it feels like there is just this huge crush on him that he gets attention that I don't feel like is deserved.
I used to have a crush on Aaron Rodgers. I used to think that he was it. Like everybody talks about Tom Brady being the GOAT. I used to think that Aaron Rodgers was better than Tom Brady. I don't think that anymore. And I don't even know when that changed or why that changed. I think it's part of the way that he's playing and part of the way that he behaves off the field. And I know that shouldn't go into that decision, but the truth is that it does.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why he's in the running for MVP when I feel like there are so many other players in the league that deserve it more than he does.
To me, the thing that I like the most about him is I think he's a very smart quarterback. And what I mean by that is that he had 37 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like that number is crazy. Like he's not one of those quarterbacks that just kind of, it's like, oh, he threw another interception. He made a bad decision. He doesn't tend to do that. I just don't think that I don't think you could argue how he's the best player in the league. I don't know how.
Yeah, and I think the other problem I have with him is like if you sack him enough, or if you disrupt his vibe, he just gives up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like everyone says that. He's like, he's giving up. He can just see in his face, and you don't know. We don't know what's in his head, but it sure looks like it. That he just gives up. And I'm like, how in the world can you get MVP if you're someone who just gives up? And then you have, other players who fight till the end, like in the trenches. Even if they think they're going to lose, they still fight. And sometimes they win because of that fight.
Yep.
I don't see that with him.
With him, it's like you have to needle him before the game to make him mad so that he wants to win. And it shouldn't be like that. He should go into every game like it's a fight, it's a battle, and I'm going to win this. I'm not going home until we have this win. And I don't think he goes in with that mindset, and it's disappointing.
Plus, I just don't feel like we should have an MVP who has that hair. It's whenever Sherry sees him on TV, she's like, "Why does he look like that?"
He's dating Shailene Woodley. Why does she let him look like that?
I don't get it.
She needs to take him to the car wash and then the barber.
It's true. It's so bad. Karen Rodgers is the worst. All right. Let's talk about where players could potentially end up. This is a huge discussion this offseason. I feel like it's more talked about this year than other years. At least it seems that way. And there are several big players. We've got Justin. We got Jimmy G. Going to end up somewhere. We've got my man Russ. Who knows? Who in the heck's going to replace Big Ben in Pittsburgh? So
what is Pittsburgh going to do at quarterback?
I think Pittsburgh's going to take Jimmy G.
Really?
I don't know. I've seen some of that, and I can see how it could happen. This is the thing. I have mixed emotions with Jimmy G. Like I honestly, I really do. I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him because there's a lot of strength. And I think he gets a bad rap for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that he brings unity to our team is insane. And I'm a little bit worried about Trey Lance and the disunity that's going to occur this year. Anyway, but I feel like it might be either, I don't know, the Patriots could take him back. But I wonder if he'll go to the Steelers.
It's really interesting. What a change. Because like Big Ben was such a specific type of quarterback, right? Like, I mean, he kind of did his thing. And there's nobody like him in the league as far as quarterbacks go. And so I feel like whoever they get, it's going to change that team pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
So I have no clue.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that, but I like that though.
I would be curious to see like who are the Bucks going to get? Is Jimmy G a potential for the Bucks? Does he a Brady protege? Like,
man, the Bucks, they have a huge rebuilding year. Like, oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
Like, it's insane. Like, they're broken. So whatever quarterback they get, I feel like needs to be a little more, I don't know. I just feel like Jimmy G is not the right fit for what's going to happen with that team.
I can see that.
I think the Bucks are going to need somebody who is either like absolute trash to like reset the Bucks, because they need somebody who's terrible for a year so that whoever comes after won't be so hated. You know what I mean? Like if you have Tom Brady and then you have absolute garbage, then anybody who comes after your absolute garbage is going to be better than what you had before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and actually read an article today that was very similar to that, Auburn, talking about how the Bucks may not be a very attractive team for most quarterbacks because nobody wants to follow Tom Brady. Like, you don't want to be the next guy up. Like,
I wouldn't want to play for Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
He's out there hitting guys. I wouldn't want to play for him.
And like he's survived cancer 3 times. He's now been through like the last few years with all the Brady fiasco, the up and down. Does Bruce Arians want to rebuild a team at this point in his career? I mean,
I'd be surprised if he doesn't retire.
I wouldn't be be surprised to see them lose him too.
Right.
That's crazy. That's so crazy. Well, let's talk about Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I will say at the end of the season, or at the end of the year, I do think that he still will be with the Seahawks. At the end of the season this last year, I said that I wanted Pete to be gone. I wanted Pete Carroll to be gone. I love Pete. got us our only Super Bowl, but I just feel like it's time for a transition. And I thought that getting rid of Pete would keep Russ happy enough to stay. Now, I don't think either of them are going to go anywhere. I actually think that we'll probably start next season with both of them. I think that the Seahawks have made some changes to other key coaching positions that seem to maybe be appeasing a lot of the players.
Interesting.
And so I think that they will actually stay there. I do think, though, that because he has the no trade clause, I feel like he's the one who decides where he goes. You know what I mean? Like it's not the kind of thing that if Russ doesn't want to play for a team, he just says no and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like he holds all of the cards in this. And I don't see him going anywhere that he doesn't think that he can win instantly. That's my thing with him is that, he knows that his age is getting up there. He doesn't want to go to the Bucs and be part of a rebuild. Like he wants, if he goes anywhere, it's because he thinks he can win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like there's a lot of teams that are in like semi rebuilds this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the Bucs who are like, I feel like are like a big rebuild, but then there's a lot of teams who are in these semi rebuilds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it would be a weird season for him. I mean, there's just not a lot of teams out there. I would feel like that he would be confident that he could take to the Super Bowl.
Well, because I feel like so many of those teams already kind of like have their guy.
Exactly.
Right? It's like if you're one of those top tier teams, you're not going to get rid of your guy for Russ.
No.
So, well, what about Aaron Rodgers, Auburn? Do you have any thoughts? What's he going to do? Is he going to be a Packer next year? Where's he going?
He's going to have his own game show.
I hope so.
With that hair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, not. He's gonna actually what's that show that not the Try Guys? What am I talking about? It's the Queer Eye. They're gonna give him a makeover.
I would watch that episode. I would watch it for sure.
That guy needs help. I think he needs therapy. I think he needs a haircut.
Do you think that he wants to keep playing, or do you think he's considering retirement? What do you think?
I wonder if he would go to the Saints. The Saints are a conundrum to me because of the Sean Payton retirement, or I'm sorry, hiatus. So I don't even know what to expect from them next year because I feel like Sean Payton is their glue.
Yeah, if you're a Saints fan and you lost Drew Brees and Sean Payton in back-to-back years, like you've got to be just demoralized. Yeah, Jameis Winston's your quarterback and no Sean Payton, like that sucks.
I'm still bitter about the Drew Brees retirement. Like I did not want him to retire that year.
I just didn't want his last game to be a loss to Tom Brady. That's what I didn't want. And that's what
I wanted him to have another chance at a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
How do you each feel about, your teams based on this season, two of the best, 4 teams in the NFL. How do you guys feel about the Chiefs and 49ers going into next season? How are you feeling?
So I'm going to talk about the Chiefs. I feel like the Chiefs are okay. I mean, they're a great team. They're going to continue being that great team. I mean, it's just the reality of that. Like, I mean, Mahomes, he's gonna kick butt for days. I feel like the Niners are in a semi rebuild because we're gonna have a rookie quarterback, who sat for a year but only played like 2.5 games. So unless he's just like super good out of the gate, I think we have a chance. But if he's just gonna be a rookie and make mistakes, then we're not going to go far this year. I hope that he's really good, and because we have a lot of great players and we have a lot of good young people, and I think we could do it. Our defense is fantastic, but it's all going to be up with that whole unity thing and then our rookie quarterback. So
that's rough. Auburn, Chiefs, how you feeling?
We need some younger guys on defense. Our defense is so old. Nothing against those guys. We've got some really great guys on defense, but they've played for a long time. They're beat up and they're tired. I want to give Justin some words of consolation, I think. Trey Lance may be a rookie, and he may not have as much experience, next season as some of the other rookies that were drafted in the same class. But look at all the other rookies that were drafted this year, that started this year, that did so well. Like Mac Jones with the Patriots, that guy's on fire. And then the one that went to the Jets, who is that? Zach Taylor? Is that not Taylor?
It's
Zach Wilson?
Right? Wilson, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, he's a pretty good kid. So I think there was a ton of talent in that specific class. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen from him, he looks good. He's a running quarterback, so our playbook is going to open up a ton. So I'm excited for that. I really am. And I'm actually really excited that he did sit for a year. Like I know all the other rookie quarterbacks play this year, but I'm glad he had the opportunity to sit. And I think our coach has some stuff up his sleeve that we don't really know about, and there's reasons why he did that. So I'm excited to see what happens from that. But I don't think we'll do as good as this year. Yeah.
I think you can learn a lot sitting on the bench, watching the games play out in front of you, like more than when you're watching the game on TV. I think that there's a lot to be said for being benched for a year and watching the game from the sideline and seeing how it works. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Mm-hmm. And like getting to be on the bench in a season where they had a deep run. You know what I mean? It's like he might not have been in the game, but like he got to be around the whole playoff hype, all of that kind of stuff. Like he got some experience this year that I think will benefit him probably in coming years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A couple more questions. Want to stick to something you talked about, Justin. You talked about the 49ers having just kind of a bunch of great players, one of them being your tight end. And I think that your two teams, in my opinion, have the two best tight ends in football. Just next level athletes. Who's better? Kittle, Kelsey? Fight it out to the death.
Gosh, that's very hard because
Travis has a better beard.
Well, if we're going on facial hair alone, we can all agree with that.
This is okay. So the reason why I like George Kittle is he brings so much, and I talk about unity a lot, but I think in a football team you got to have that, and he brings so much of that to the team. Like if he wasn't there, and the reason why I think this could happen well with Trey Lance is if George Kittle comes under Trey Lance and kind of steers that team and say, hey guys, Trey Lance is cool. We're going to be all right, because that's how much pull he has. Mm-hmm. That alone, obviously he's fantastic. And he didn't get targeted hardly at all this year because Jimmy G just had problems with his thumb and everything else. But I just wonder the chemistry that can happen with Lance and Kittle. I think the numbers are going to be pretty awesome this year. But I do like George Kittle because he doesn't care about the stats. He just wants to win games, and he's just an old school football player. He just wants to play ball, and I really like that about him. So,
I love that about George Kittle. I'm not going to lie. Watching George Kittle play football reminds me of watching Taysom Hill play football. Mm. And Taysom Hill is sort of like a golden retriever playing football. He's like, hey guys, we're playing football. This is so much fun. Look at us. We're playing football. And I get that same feeling from watching George Kittle play football. Mm-hmm. It's like he's out there. He's having fun. He's having the time of his life playing the game that he loves to play. And I think it's so much fun to watch him play football. And the fact that he doesn't play for the stats is incredible to me. And even though he doesn't play for the stats, he has the stats. Mm-hmm. You know, he is an excellent tight end. Now, Travis Kelce's on my team. Yeah. And so I'm always going to say that he's better. So I think we just have to have our teams go back to the Super Bowl and duke it out and see who wins.
It's the only answer.
Yeah. I think it's coming. It has to come.
I want to see that again.
That was the game that I wanted this year. Even though I never want to see the 49ers advance, I did want to see that game because anything would be better than the Rams Bengals. All right, last question. Now that Tom Brady's gone, least favorite quarterback in the NFL. Like who now takes over for you the role of Tom Brady, where every Sunday it's like, I'd like to see that guy get his head ripped off. Is there anybody?
For me, it's Derek Carr.
Yeah.
It's always Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Now there are some quarterbacks that I think are uber talented in the NFL that when my team is playing them, I just want to see my guys sack that guy like the whole game. And those players are Josh Allen and Justin Herbert specifically. I just want to see those guys sacked into the dirt every single time when we're playing them. But I love watching them play. But I cannot stand Derek Carr. He's so pouty. Can't stand that guy.
Yep. Justin, thoughts?
The thing is I haven't really thought about that too much, so I don't really have one, just because Tom Brady was someone that was so far up there as far as how I just didn't dislike him, that everyone else doesn't seem as bad right now. Now I'm sure that's going to change when Brady's out of the picture, because now my eyes are going to kind of be open to other quarterbacks. But his stench was so powerful that that's just it. So I don't really have one as of right now.
His stench was so powerful. Well, then, how about this? Let's reword it. Most overrated quarterback. For me, it's Kyler Murray. I'm going to be honest.
I think he's definitely overrated.
Oh, yeah. So overrated.
I am not on the Kyler Murray bandwagon at all. I think,
and we've talked about that, haven't we?
Yeah. I just
hands down.
I don't get it.
I think he should go play baseball.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I feel like he's not invested in the game because he has other options or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he is overrated because and then just his face sometimes, it's almost like it's everyone else's fault, not his, when a play doesn't happen. And I'm just like, dude, look at your throws. Like you can't blame it all on your team. Yep. And that's what I feel like his face is. He's like, oh, come on. And it's just like, I don't know. This is a podcast. You can't see my face. But I made some disgusting faces.
Kyler Murray faces.
I found them entertaining and accurate.
Well, thank you guys for being on here. Thanks for talking about football with me. I appreciate it. I love your guys' opinions. When I kind of was looking at podcast dates, Super Bowl dates, I knew there was only 2 people I wanted to talk to for the podcast before the Super Bowl. And I'm glad it was you 2. So we'll have to do this again at the start of next season and see how we're feeling.
What about draft day?
Also, you know what? Next time the 3 of us are together, you know what I want to talk about? Football movies.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Titans.
Draft day is what made me think about it.
I love draft day.
I love draft day. Remember the Little Giants?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you told me about that one, and I actually watched that one on a plane flying to Alaska. Did I tell you this?
No.
I watched it, and I thought it was so dumb.
What?
No, it's not dumb.
It's dumb.
This is the next podcast we're doing. The 3 of us are talking about football movies. Everybody, thanks for listening. We love you guys. We'll see you next week on the LeggLife podcast.